The message is signed B.
I'm going to keep looking for some way to fix this. You should too. I didn't mess up. I didn't create this mess. You fix it yourself. I'm just enjoying the story in my little reality. Like, yo, hey, you fix it and then you hit me up and I could probably react to that story. That's fair, right? Let's keep it going.
Later, in the void.
What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Savvy, and welcome back to the Savvy Show. And today's a special day because this will be the first ever non-animation reaction on the channel, guys. And this is one of the videos that I was really waiting to get into because I really wanted to get my knowledge, up to par with all the SCP terminology and so on and so forth. And it's about time to bring this heat for you guys today. So this SCP is SCP-3812. A voice behind me. So guys, from what the few people that told me about this, because I heard about this before, like I started making videos on my channel, they were like telling me this is like a really strong SCP, and it's probably like top 5 in terms of like just powers and abilities and strength alone. And yo, I hope I'm ready for it. I might not be, you guys know me, but hey, we're going to be diving deep no matter what. So with that being said, if you guys do enjoy these non-animation reactions, please show me by smashing that like button more than any other video, guys, because this is something new for the channel. If you guys really do enjoy this and you guys want to see more alongside with the animations, let me know by smashing that like button. Let's at least get 60 likes on this video. If we get 60 likes on this video within the first 24 hours, then I'll know that that's a good sign that you guys want to see more of this kind of content. But like always, man, if I feel like this is heat, I want to bring a lot more. I just want to see if the family's vibing with me. So yo, do what you gotta do if you enjoy the content, and also remember, smash that sub button, join the family if not already part of the train. You're not hopped in, guys. Come on, let's hit milestones together. Let's go full throttle. Let's keep it pushing, guys. All gas, no brakes, and we don't bite. So join the family. It's gonna be a fun time. If you love SCP content and my reaction style, this is home, guys. Come home. Also, before we dive deep, special shout out to the Exploring series. Yo, this is where I'm reacting to this video. Feel free to check out the original link in the description below. But yo, shout out to them. I most likely will be covering a lot more of his videos in the future. But yeah, I just want to do a special shout out before we dive deep. Give props where props are due. So with that all out the way, let's get this show started. Alrighty, SCP-3812, a voice behind me. Family, yo, I hope I'm ready for this, man. I hope I'm ready.
SCP-3812, a voice behind me. What is the most powerful SCP? Some among you might say the unkillable lizard, or the deer, or 343, or one of the 001s. But the answer, as you might have figured, is SCP-3812. In fact, SCP-3812 is likely the most powerful fictional entity ever written.
Yo, well, we're not even a minute in, but he's basically confirming that this is the strongest SCP to date. Number one, numero uno. Yo, and the strongest fictional character ever written. Well, it might not even be a character. Okay, whoa. That's a lot to take, and I'm glad he hit me with this early on.
And while that might sound like an incredibly lame subject for an SCP on the surface, the document for 3812 takes us on a very interesting ride. Unlike entities such as the Scarlet King, or the Deer, or the Broken God, 3812 is not an unfathomably old creature from the center of the universe, or the abyss, or similar beginnings, but instead was just a man. 3812 was once a man named Sam Howell, raised in Louisiana, and died in 1996.
Wow, okay, I'm really liking how this is going. I didn't want it to be like something that was always there, and is just a super powerful being that's obviously was a god to begin with. I wanted to be someone that was like, turned into, something great, like a regular human, a regular person. So I really like the direction so far. This is great.
After his death, the entity known as 3812 rose out of his grave and proceeded to disappear. Unfortunately, that's all we know of its origins. It's certainly possible that this is indeed some ancient entity that was just living in this ordinary man until he died for some reason.
Interesting.
But since 3812 only seems to be a very recent problem, It's hard to say. Alternatively, if 3812 didn't really come into existence until his death, we don't know what caused that either. Regardless, 3812 was first discovered by the Foundation 20 years ago, when its presence resulted in the destruction of an apartment building in Poland. 3812 was originally relatively human in appearance when the Foundation first discovered it, but over time its appearance has shifted and altered.
So when he escaped the human's grave, he was a regular human, and then over time he turned into something, that's not human anymore. What? Let me hear that one more time.
In Poland. 3812 was originally relatively human in appearance when the Foundation first discovered it.
Relatively. Well, so it looks similar to a human being, but wow, what is this?
But over time, its appearance has shifted and altered, and is now only vaguely humanoid. 3812 suffers from extreme paranoia, depression, mania, inability to properly perceive their surroundings, inability to discern the difference between the real and imagined, inability to differentiate between the living and dead, inability to control expressions of emotion, hallucinations, hearing voices, feeling things that aren't there, etc.
He has a lot of problems for being the strongest SCP. It's either one or two things. He is confused that he doesn't know who he really is, and he feels like he's still the person that, was that human that died, Sam, whatever his name is. Or he is so far ahead of, reality, our reality, and just the comprehension of just matter and everything in this world. He's just so confused at it. It could be a lot of things, but that's just crazy to think like it's suffering from so many stuff, but it's so strong.
In a human, this would be a pretty small problem for a group like the Foundation. But it's complicated by the fact that 3812 is the most powerful reality bender in existence. Originally, 3812 was cooperative with the Foundation and sought their help in managing its condition. But over time, it has become more withdrawn and erratic. 3812 currently cannot accurately perceive the world around it, and so it will occasionally alter reality to suit its own perceptions.
Wow.
This makes it both incredibly dangerous and incredibly difficult for the Foundation to determine exactly what 3812 is changing.
That's crazy.
Because of this, containment of 3812 is impossible, and it seems to subconsciously resist any form of containment attempted on it.
SCP-3812 appearing here as a policeman in a riot gear, as viewed through the burning Kong viewer. Right. So he's a policeman. But on the right, he's gone. Is that him changing reality?
3812 will simply alter reality to counter any threat against it, and so current efforts are on mitigating any damage that 3812 causes. As of now, 3812 is currently located above the South Pacific Ocean. Back when 3812 was still cooperating with the Foundation, an interview was conducted between it and a Foundation doctor. It complained about its hallucinations and the voices it was hearing, saying that it was like it was talking to a dozen people at the same time.
What?
The doctor reassured 3812 that they are here to help, but 3812 is unsure, saying that in the story, they don't try to help. The doctor is understandably confused. And
is he talking about another reality where he was talking to this doctor in another, dimension and universe, and he didn't want to help him? Or the story that he thought about that could be a possible reality? That's why he said story, because it's not yet true. Yo, this is heavy, bro. This is a lot.
Frankly, so is 3812. But it says that it can see what the doctor is thinking and knows he is afraid.
Oh.
It is unsure of how to undo this, if it even can. And then it says that it's not even sure if he can. The doctor asks, who is he? And 3812 says that although the doctor can't see him, it can. 3812 goes on.
So he can't see this SCP? Is he invisible? Then how do you know you're even talking to him? Wait, what? Hold up.
3812 says that although the Doctor can't see him, it can.
It can see the Doctor, but the Doctor can't see him. Well, we figured that much, but we didn't know that he's completely invisible. How does the Doctor even know he's... What?
3812 goes on. I think he was above us at one point, but he's below me now. Yes, I see you there. I don't know what you did to me, but I'm pretty messed up, man. If you can figure something out here, that would be great, because I really feel like I'm losing it. I'm scared too, man. You've got to do something, man. You've got to help me out here. Afterwards, 3812 spontaneously disappears. We're then provided a memo that was written by another doctor in 2015 regarding the danger of 3812. She begins by saying that she believes 3812 to be the most dangerous anomaly on Earth and potentially in the universe. She goes on to discuss the Scranton reality anchors designed to contain reality benders and the development of Hume levels to assist in analyzing and studying changes in reality. Hume levels, you might recall from SCP-3001, are the measure of reality levels in an area, with our normal level of reality being the baseline.
Hume levels. Okay, I didn't react to that SCP, but... So it's how you measure reality? Let me hear it one more time.
SCP-3001 are the measure of reality levels in an area,
Okay.
with our normal level of reality being the baseline. She then says that the Foundation equipment cannot detect SCP-3812, and not because of machine or user error either. This means one of three things. One is that 3812 has an extremely low Hume level, beyond what they thought possible, which would mean that reality could eventually sink into this minimal Hume level.
But I thought it's the Hume levels reality, and he's the strongest reality bender. So why would his Hume level be so low? I know this is all fresh to me now, but it's not adding up, at least right now.
Two is the opposite, that 3812 has an extremely high Hume level, and is therefore above even the God-level reality benders measured by the Foundation.
Sheesh.
Since a reality bender of this magnitude would likely have already destroyed them, this is probably not the case. The third possibility is really the worst one, in that 3812 is fundamentally different than every other reality bender known to the Foundation.
Oh, let's see.
Dr. Robert Scranton theorized that just as there are different physical dimensions that humans are unable to access or perceive, so too might there be different dimensions of reality that are above or below us. According to Scranton, these levels of reality would be manipulating something called the narrative, and each narrative would be stacked on top of one another.
Is that why SCP-3812 was basically saying that doesn't go along with the story when he was talking to the Doctor, when he said he could see the Doctor's mind and he knew he was scared? Is that just one of the stories on this because he's the narrator?
If 3812 is some sort of higher level reality bender that can manipulate every aspect of our reality, and also suffers from severe mental disorders, that's a pretty bad problem. The Doctor admits, though, that it's probably better for them if 3812 is insane, since it...
Okay, this is just really cool because I didn't know there were so many different levels of being a reality bender. I thought when you're just one, you could, do it to a certain extent, and it wasn't like something that you need like mana for to do. You could just bend reality to its will. But there's levels to this, which is really cool. And I find this really fascinating because like if I could ever choose a power, I would choose reality manipulation. That was always my favorite one ever since I was younger, when I always wanted to like think about what kind of superhero I'd be or villain. So this is actually it's really dope seeing there's different levels within the SCP universe of reality benders, and knowing that it's the strongest one is really cool. It's all fit into one SCP.
It can't comprehend its level of power. It merely acts on impulse, and alterations to reality have so far been strictly local. If it decided that it didn't like the concept of empathy, for example, it could simply remove it from our reality.
Empathy, wow. You can
There
actually
is
remove
apparently
that.
evidence, however, that something similar had already happened, as the Foundation had found a few sparse accounts as recently as the 1980s that a concept, perhaps even an emotion, once existed but no longer does.
How do you remove an emotion, though? That's not reality manipulation. You're not reality manipulation is manipulating like matter around you. How do you manipulate an emotion? That's not a matter. That's a feeling. What? I mean, I guess this is what he means by different levels. Being a reality bender. What the heck? You can take away emotions, feelings.
This is a level of power incomparable among SCPs, and the only thing holding it in check is 3812's own mental state.
But his mental state is bad. And if he has this much power to take away emotions, why can't he just take away his emotions, all the ones that he's suffering from? Why can't he just take that away from himself? Or create a reality where those emotions don't exist. Hence, he won't have those set emotions because he's in a reality where that is not possible. Seems like he's capable of doing that, right? Like, is this just me thinking that? What the heck?
We're then given a page from a full report written by the doctor about SCP-3812. She says that an entity of this magnitude would perceive our reality much like we perceive the reality of a comic book. And just as we can change that story based on our whims, so could this entity change ours. There is a hypothesis that an entity such as this, that is bound to a human level of intelligence, would suffer from an overexposure of narrative. That is, they would simply be perceiving too much. When faced with this much perception, they might collapse a number of lower realities into something more simple in order to ease themselves.
What?
But the damage would be catastrophic. Individuals inside those realities, namely us, would be either utterly destroyed or intertwined with other realities to the point that our consciousnesses would be annihilated. Let me simplify if that's all a little too much to take in. Picture a comic book written by a human being in our world,
Okay.
making our existence the baseline reality.
Got it.
The universe of that comic book, let's say the Marvel universe for simplicity, is a reality below us. It's not real to us, and we can change it however we wish, but it's real to the characters within the comic book.
Yeah.
Now picture a television show within the Marvel universe, which is just as non-real to us as the comic book is, and just as subject to our whims as the Marvel universe is. But at that point, it's also not real to the characters within the comic book.
Yeah.
Conceivably, the characters in the Marvel universe can change that television show however they wish, and so on, continuing down the line of realities.
Okay.
Or
I get it.
narratives.
Yeah.
Now consider the concept that we are not at the top of the reality chain, and there is in fact a reality, or countless realities above us. Just as we consider the comic book to be fiction, so too might something else consider our reality to be fiction.
That makes sense. Okay, I get that analogy now. That clears up a lot now. Because it's basically talking about like we are the comic book right now. And say like the author wants to change anything. He could like change me into a girl or whatever. He is, a higher reality of us. So he has more power to manipulate certain things within the reality below him. So on and so forth. Wow. So is he saying that this entity, this SCP-3812, is at the top of the food chain of reality benders? And how did he just jump to that? I feel like his origins should not even make that a possibility. Him being a regular human, assuming he was a regular human in our reality, because he said the human level is our reality, which is the base level. So he was at the base level. How would a reality bender to that magnitude live in a human's body for that long, if he was in that human's body, because it said it's a possibility, and then just be, born from the death of that human and be at the top of the food chain? Like, wouldn't that be contradicting like the levels of reality? But oh, man, this is a lot.
This is the danger of 3812, as it seems to be above our level of reality, and who knows how many levels above us it is. We then see a short list of instances where 3812 altered reality, ranging from small alterations that affected very little to massive alterations that affect the entire planet.
Damn.
Some of these events are hard to conclusively prove that they occurred due to lack of evidence. In 1997, 3812 walked across a desert, creating a temporary stretch of temperate climate along with it.
Okay.
In 1999, it's believed that 3812 caused an entire island off the coast of California to disappear. More than 200 people have vague recollections of the island, with some unable to justify the disappearances of family members who lived in the area. In 2000, an SCP that exuded a field similar to a reality anchor was brought near 3812. Rather than containing 3812, it resulted in an explosion that destroyed a hospital.
What?
The remnants of the SCP were recontained by the Foundation as SCP-239, the Witch Child.
Oh, I heard about that one.
In 2004, 3812 caused the country of Mongolia to cease to exist for 3 days.
Okay. I think I'm gathering what's going on here right now. So, for example, with the same analogy they used with the comic book, this SCP, say I'm the one that wrote that comic book, say I'm Stan Lee, I'm SCP-3812. Then I am probably writing myself within that said story in the comic book, which was, you know, the Incredible Hulk. And I'm writing myself in these scenarios, you know, changing the story, changing the narrative, because I am in a higher level. I could just, you know, put I guess like an avatar of myself within that reality. But at the end of the day, this SCP, even though he's in our reality, his main being itself is probably not there. That's why he could just disappear on a whim like that. You know, when he was like talking to the doctor, the doctor really couldn't see him and then he just disappeared. I feel like he just wrote himself out of that script, or the story was over for that point. That could be the possibility, because that would make sense why he's there, because it's his story, basically. It's his reality. Well, not his story, but a reality that he could change, because he's the one with the pen writing in the comic book. I could be wrong, but that's like the only way I could try to, like, you know, taking all this information and make it make sense. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below too.
A significant portion of the local population retained fractured memories of the event, and the Earth's orbit was dramatically affected during the period. Also in 2004, every human on Earth heard 3812 screaming for help in their heads. And in 2009, during another containment attempt, dozens of Foundation personnel disappeared across 17 sites, as well as a significant portion of local wildlife. The explosion caused by 3812 left a crater roughly 850 meters in diameter, and SCP-2719 was found within, a highly abstract metaphysical anomaly.
Jeez.
Additionally, it seems that in the past, multiple governments have discovered 3812 and attempted to terminate it themselves, resulting in their existence being wiped from the Earth. These governments include the Republic of West Korea, the Islamic Union of Eastern Samothrace, and the Kingdom of Alagada. Their removal was followed by activation of SCP-2000, Deus Ex Machina.
Oh, we've seen that one.
Which 3812 damaged to stop it from working.
Thank you.
Why 3812 was unable to completely destroy SCP-2000 is unknown. Moving on,
that is interesting.
Years ago, 3812 was moving across Paraguay towards a populated area of Argentina, likely en route to its current location in the South Pacific Ocean. Foundation personnel moved in to intercept 3812 in order to prevent it from wiping out an entire city, but a series of strange events occurred. 3812 is attacked by a large number of local wildlife.
The heck?
Startles 3812.
How? So did he make himself in this reality not invisible anymore? So monsters could attack him, or like what? Oh, see, this is what I feel like they're making it make sense for the story itself, so they could have something to attack it. Because if it's this strong, he could just make himself invisible, like he was to the doctor, and only he could see the monsters attacking him, and not the other way around. But I guess it would be just not a good story if it was that.
Next, a massive sinkhole appears beneath it, causing it to fall momentarily before it returns to ground level, and the sinkhole closes. A large number of tungsten rods fall from the sky directly towards 3812, starting with only a few before suddenly more than 3,000 fall in rapid succession.
Damn.
Each of them disintegrates within a half-meter of 3812's body. It seems something is trying to kill 3812, to little effect.
Makes sense.
Next, a number of incorporeal instances of 3812 fall away from it, as if they were dying.
What?
But 3812 keeps moving. These copies then attempt to attack it to no effect, until 3812 looks at them and they disappear.
Wow.
This is followed by multiple explosions centered on 3812.
I wonder if other reality benders are trying to take this dude out. Who knows? Maybe they felt like he cheated and got too much power or something. And obviously, he's not even happy. He's been crying out for help, which is a whole. He's like a walking contradiction. He should take out the feeling of being lonely and like feeling like you need help. You could just take that emotion away, and then he won't have to deal with that. It's just kind of interesting the route that they're going with this, because it feels like they're making this SCP as strong as any other being, but at the same time helpless and like trapped within the power that he has. But knowing that he has this much power, he could like fix anything he would want. Oh no.
Again, to no effect. Finally, a gravitational anomaly, essentially a black hole, appears in front of 3812, but it simply walks through it, and it dissipates.
What the? Oh my god.
Additional anomalous events occur around 3812 for 72 hours, each failing to stop or kill it. Eventually, however, 3812 begins to grow white momentarily before disappearing.
Whoa.
SCP-3812 was missing for 8 weeks before it reappeared in the South Pacific Ocean.
Okay.
Shortly after, a message appears on a Foundation server, accessible only by overseers.
Let's hear it.
The message explains that this world has rules that cannot be broken, things we study in physics and chemistry. These are unchangeable laws of the universe that define our existence. The individual that wrote the note claims that they wrote these laws, and they created this narrative.
And the person that created the narrative created this SCP.
They specifically attempted to create something that superseded everything, in order to see how many layers there are.
Dang.
The mistake they made was that when they made 3812 to supersede everything, that also included 3812, which creates a pretty big problem.
He superseded himself?
This individual thinks that 3812 now exists across all realities simultaneously, and he'll either reach the top or just keep going. The message is signed B.
I'm going to keep looking for some way to fix this. You should too. I didn't mess up. I didn't create this mess. You fix it yourself. I'm just enjoying the story in my little reality. Like, yo, hey, you fix it and then you hit me up and I could probably react to that story. That's fair, right? Let's keep it going.
The following addendum is from an essay written by Dr. Robert Scranton, and I'll summarize it quickly. Basically, Scranton discusses the concept of a god, which would be an entity with complete and utter power without limits, able to know and rewrite our narrative at will. This god would be so separate from our reality that they would treat it like words on a page. He goes on to discuss the concept of something above that, and ponders how far it goes, wondering who the architect of the architecture was that established this. This entity, capable of superseding our reality and any other reality, would theoretically be forced to supersede itself, spiraling ever upwards and unable to escape. Scranton finishes by saying that such an entity would no doubt lose its cognition, being closer to a thrown stone than a sentient creature.
What?
Finally, the last addendum we receive is about an XK-class end-of-the-world event. being closer to a thrown stone
Thrown
than a
stone?
sentient creature.
So what they're basically saying is SCP-3812 is a prisoner trapped within his own power. Because basically he is the one throwing the stone, and at the same time he is that stone getting thrown, crying for help. Probably, not probably, is crying for help. Damn, that's a shitty story to live. Damn, with all that power, you can't really do anything. With all that power, you can't control it because you're always superseding yourself, which means that you're not in control. Wow.
Finally, the last addendum we receive is about an XK class end of the world event that occurred in December 2016 due to SCP-3812. At the start of the event, 3812 experienced a dramatic change in appearance, becoming a many-pointed star made of a bright white material.
Okay.
It began to rotate faster and faster, a maelstrom appearing beneath it as it sank into the ocean. The global sea level began to drop dramatically, in many places as much as 50 to 100 meters. A massive firestorm swept across the atmosphere. The Earth's rotation began to slow, and electrical storms blanketed the planet. Large portions of the global population began to disappear and reappear at random, such as the entire population of New Zealand disappearing for 5 hours. The outbreak of SCP-610 in Siberia began to grow dramatically. SCP-2932, Titania's prison, broke open, releasing multiple hostile entities.
Whoa.
And a number of the Foundation's on-site nukes were detonated.
Yo. So they're dead.
The vaguely humanoid shape of 3812 reappeared inside of the rotating star.
Oh my god.
And began to have a conversation with itself, recorded by a Foundation deep-sea microphone.
Let's hear it.
It seems that 3812 has a split personality. And although it's speaking in one voice, it's as if it's a conversation between two entities.
Yeah, makes sense.
One of these personalities seems to be in control of the ongoing destruction of the planet. We'll call this one A. And the other is much more confused.
Probably a prisoner.
We'll call this one B. A seems to be destroying this world as vengeance for their creation, saying that their existence is a joke.
Damn.
They were apparently created to be miserable, and so now they are breaking the narrative. B tries to claim that he's not a monster, and he wouldn't kill anyone. But A says that Ben has already turned him into this. Who's Ben, you might ask?
Bro.
Well, that would be the real first name of the author of this and many other SCPs, DJ Cactus.
Okay, yo. They're breaking the fourth wall now? Yo, Ben did this to you, B. It's not me. Yo, don't get mad at me. Get mad at the author of this whole freaking, Foundation universe. What the? I gotta hear that one more time. Oh my goodness.
And so now they are breaking the narrative. B tries to claim that he's not a monster, and he wouldn't kill anyone. But A says that Ben has already turned him into this.
So the author turned this dude into a monster, and the SCP-3812 didn't even realize yet because he is superseding himself. Yo, I feel sorry for this dude.
Who's Ben, you might ask? Well, that would be the real first name of the author of this and many other SCPs, DJ Cactus.
Bro.
A goes on to say that this person made their existence a game, and so it's going to destroy this reality as punishment, since Ben controls this narrative. Or so he thought. B tries to convince A that this reality no longer really matters to them. Even though it's the one they started from, they are above it now.
Dang.
This story doesn't mean anything to them anymore, and so this so-called punishment is pointless. A seems to be focusing on all of the horror and tragedy of the countless realities, whereas B is more open to the scope and possibilities of their existence.
Dang.
B again
It's like
says
yin and
that
yang.
this reality is just one of a trillion grains of sand, and it is not special. A seems to now represent the more human side of 3812, haunted by the suffering it has witnessed. But B is optimistic about their ability to grow and adapt. They will continue to rise and rise until they're above all this. And although it will be lonely, they'll have each other.
Well, that's crazy.
A realizes that we will always be bound by a single narrative, and that is punishment enough. They look and see Ben at a keyboard, waiting to see what they'll do, and they decide to move on.
They actually see the author typing this up at the moment. He's typing it, waiting for the next. Yeah, they're really breaking barriers.
The world was returned to its previous state, and SCP-3812 now hangs over the Pacific Ocean, no longer lashing out in hostility.
Oh my god.
Well, that's certainly a lot to take in. And
Yeah.
although it would be easy for a story about an infinite god to become ridiculous and over the top, the ending we get is surprisingly sweet. It's important to remember that 3812 started out as a human, which dictates a lot of its actions. It clearly can't handle what it's going through, but as B says at the end, something they'll never lose from being human is their ability to change. This certainly could have just been a tale about an insane god that wreaks havoc before disappearing in its own insanity.
Yeah.
But we're given an interesting meta take on the concept of narratives and those that control them.
That's really cool.
3812 might not be everyone's cup of tea, but there's little debate that it's one of, if not the most powerful SCP in existence.
No, that was great. I really like the different narratives that they were talking about. How, you know, if you're in a higher reality, you could control that one story, and the whole story is like a reality, which is the world we live in now. And it was really dope. I really like the change because they started, you know, the base level, the human level, which is our reality, a human that was there, and he became, you know, the top of the top, which superseded himself. But at the same time, he still feels trapped because, you know, he started as a human. But there's another side of him that knows, you know, there's something better and you'll never be alone because we'll always be trapped or tied to one narrative. Yo, damn, they put this together perfectly. Whoa, this is really good. And it's over. Yeah, dude, this was great. So this was insane. It was a lot to wrap my head around. However, I had a great time reacting to this and the story and how it was brought together. It was beautiful, guys. If you guys enjoyed this story and you made it all the way to the end, I appreciate you guys a lot. Dude, this was a ride. I'm glad I wasn't alone. So please smash that like button if you guys want to see more. And if you did like this reaction, and especially if you guys want to see more SCPs that are not animated, similar to like these ones, I can't even imagine how they could animate this one. This is just crazy. But yo, let me know how you guys feel in the comment section below too, about how you guys thought about how this SCP was laid out, and what are some of the things that you really liked about this SCP. And yeah, man, this was great. I can't wait to hear what you guys thought about it. And yeah, I hope you guys all have a good day. And unfortunately, that concludes today's episode. However, I'll catch you guys on the next one. With